Hello, stupid.
Hi, Saniya.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Excited to be recording today.
Right? I know, me too. I'm very excited for this episode today. Oh my God! Happy New Year's!
Happy New Year. Oh my God. Yes, we're in 2024. Can you believe it?
Wild. I can't. I still have a hard time believing we passed 2020.
New Year,
Feels like
new
we're still
me.
back there. Yes. Do you have resolutions?
You know what? I kind of do actually. It's not like a resolution, but I would really like to run like 10K this year.
Ugh, wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
You know what? I would like to run a race, or not a race, but I would like to run
Do
in
a
a public
marathon.
setting. Like, no, not a marathon for sure.
Like a
Either
half.
a 5 or a 10.
Okay.
But just like I'd like to commit to that. Like I know I can do a 5K, but I'd like to be able to train for a 10K.
Good.
But we'll see how
So-
that goes.
I'm gonna harass you with that. Every
Uh,
like 5 episodes, I'm gonna be, how's your running? How's your running,
I,
Sanya?
how about you? Do you have one?
um, I don't intend on running. I think I have a few, but I think mostly time management. I want to get my time management in order this year. Figure that out because
Fair.
it's always been a mess, and I feel like it's just a matter of little bit of organization, and I can get it figured out.
Fair. I feel like yeah, like New Year's resolutions are so like overplayed. Like I feel like they're expected to be a big thing. Like, yeah, run a marathon this year. But just be on top of things is a great New Year's
Yeah.
resolution.
It also sounds like you Googled New Year resolutions and like you took the first like result.
Surprisingly, I didn't. I know,
Yeah.
like I think for me, like I think I've told you this before, like before I turn 30, I want to be in the best shape of my life
You're
if I
just
can.
bragging about being 29.
28 still, but yes, in a couple
Yeah.
months I will be 29. Um But I think that's such a cliche too, as I'm speaking about it. I'm like, I feel like everyone before turning 30 has this kind of
I
dream.
did I did feel that pressure a lot also when I was getting closer to 30.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm 33, soon 34, and I've never been more comfortable in my body,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
right?
And
Than
that's
like
such a
last
dream.
year. So,
Yeah. Good for you. And you know what? Me too. I feel like I was really happy with my body in 2023. And I want to maintain that confidence. That's a good New Year's resolution. I want to be
right.
confident.
Yes, okay, I like that. And I like that you detach it from a specific physical goal. I
True.
think just feeling confident is the key.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whatever gets you there.
Yeah, no numbers attached to it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a confident run. I'm kidding. I honestly don't care that much about running. I feel like you're totally right. It was like just like you asked me what I want to do, and I was like,
Yeah.
marathon.
It's too late. You said it. I'm going to hold you to it.
But now I feel like you have started us off with an icebreaker. Did
Yeah,
you
it kind of
steal my
felt like
role?
that. I know.
New
Was that
Year
your
switching
icebreaker?
roles. It was not, no.
Okay. Do you
But I'm
still want
still
to do
gonna
it?
ask you. Yeah, I
Do
feel
it.
like you're gonna like this one.
Okay.
If you were an ice cream flavor, what ice cream flavor would you be?
I mean, Rocky
And
Road.
why?
Rocky Road for obvious reasons. I mean, no, joke aside, you know what? Probably vanilla for also obvious reasons.
You're not vanilla. Well, yeah, you can be vanilla if you want to be vanilla.
But you know what? I'm like French vanilla with the like speckles of black in it. That tastes like very fancy.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I'm vanilla, but like I've mastered the art of being vanilla.
okay, have you ever had Tahitian vanilla?
Ooh, that sounds
Tahitian?
good. I did actually have that already.
We just bought that for the first time. We usually buy French vanilla to eat, like, with pie or something,
Yeah, yeah.
and I liked it.
I feel like it would be cultural appropriation if I claimed to be Tahitian vanilla.
Oh, that's why you serve French vanilla. I get
No, it
it.
wasn't. It was the only fancy vanilla I could think of, but
That's so funny. Good answer.
yeah. What about you?
I'd be like a little sorbet, I think. As in, I wouldn't
Oh,
even be ice cream. I'm that unique. I'm kidding.
you're breaking your own rules. That's so annoying.
A mango sorbet.
That does sound delicious. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah. And that's how we're gonna start off the new year after setting all these goals. Let's talk about ice cream.
Yeah. We're free. Why mango?
Oh, I don't know actually. Good question. I like mango.
Sweet but a bit sour.
That's exactly it.
You're welcome.
I should have said coconut. Brown and hairy on the outside and white on the inside.
Sanya.
That's what they
Brown
call the
and
whitewash.
hairy.
That's what they call the whitewashed Indian person, a coconut.
Oh my god. That's terrible. Oh my god. Um, do you spend New Year's with your family usually?
No. Usually I work it. I feel like there's just so much pressure around going around New Year's that I can't deal with that. So
Mm,
it's just yeah, it's just a lot of yeah. I'd rather just work. I feel better that way. And then yeah, me and my husband sometimes when we the next day we're together, we pretend like we had New Year's that like that eve at 12 o'clock wherever it is, and then we'll cheers to that.
that's so random. That's so
Yeah. How
random.
about you?
Um, like New Year's is kind of the only holiday I like actively care about.
Mhm.
And I don't know why. I think like I just like picked one at random. I'm like, I have to care about something, so let it be a New Year's kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um,
I do really like New Year's, like, I like the times I have gone out, but then sometimes it's like, like, you never wanna drink and drive, so it's like, okay, like, who's sober? Or how much are we paying for Ubers, and what is the
hmm,
surge pricing, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I rather kinda stay in.
Well, typically when I go on a New Year's, by the time I'm done, the metro started running again.
The sun is rising.
Kind of, but because they keep the clubs open all night on New Year's,
Oh, yeah,
and I
true.
like to go dancing. I like to start off with a bang.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Well, for the New Year's and after the holiday period, I have a subject that's a little bit different. Well, I don't know if it's different. We've only done like 6 episodes. And I don't know if there's a trend yet already. But maybe my approach is a bit different. I wanted to honor um, the people who are really important to me in my life that maybe I don't get to see so much of the holidays because of the family obligations.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to do an episode on chosen families.
Aw, that's so cute, I'm excited.
Yeah. So, well, maybe what do you know about the concept of chosen families? Or what does that mean to you? I'm not quizzing you this time, I swear.
Trying to make me sound stupid again. Honestly, I would say chosen family is your friends that have become family. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Like, do you have many friends that you don't feel are family?
Do I have any friends? Period. No, I do. Yeah, I think especially because I've moved out. Like I live in a different province than where my parents do. I live about a 5-hour flight away from my
Hmm.
parents. I have learned to make my friends that do live around me. They feel like family now,
Yeah.
and not just that. I think because I don't know why I feel like I need to justify it because I feel like I come from a small family. I remember growing up and wishing I had more cousins or being closer to my cousins, which I
Mm,
wasn't. And now I feel like I have so many friends that feel like cousins, that are
right.
that feel like family, even though we're not blood related.
That's fair.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so let me go a little bit into some definition, and
Mhm.
then we can talk about it some more. So first of all, the term itself, chosen family, kind of came up in the 1980s with a book called Families We Choose that was by Keith Weston.
Okay.
Um, but it's by no means a new concept. Like it was already like a very old concept at the time. But
Mhm.
in that book, she looked a lot at gay communities in the context of the AIDS crisis that was going on full force at that time, right? And it was focused on San Francisco in particular.
Okay.
And the concept of chosen families emerged a lot in that context and became very important in that context because, um, well, I think queer and gay people are often um, uh, are more subject to being rejected by their own family, um, even more so back then,
Yeah.
right? And there was such stigma about the AIDS crisis. It's funny because without even knowing what I was going to be researching, I actually saw a play last week about that exactly. It's called Ne suis jamais de larmes sanguin, which means never wipe away tears without gloves.
Aw.
And it was about like the um, the AIDS crisis in Stockholm actually. But
Interesting.
what 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 happened is that these people were deeply stigmatized. It was called like the gay cancer, right? And were extremely sick and basically had a death sentence and were rejected by their family and needed people to offer them end of life care, right? And so
Mhm.
those friends would come play those roles that are very, very traditionally played by family.
Okay.
And I think even though a lot of them didn't have legal rights to take decisions, stuff like that, I think there was some understanding in the hospitals that we'll look the other way and we'll bend some rules a little bit because no one else is there or showing up to make those decisions, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, chosen family is made up of people who have intentionally chosen to nurture, love, support, and care for each other.
Mhm.
Um, and it's an ever growing and changing concept to become like more inclusive because the purpose of the expression itself is to do contrast to a biological family. And so
Mhm.
anything that you could define outside of biological family basically could be chosen family,
Yeah.
right? But like I said, it's been around for a long time. For example, like in many African communities, there's a long history of children finding new parents after their own parents were either killed or enslaved.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not a new concept. It's a thing. People adopting other kids in the community
Mhm.
to offer hair and like offer care and love and support. Right.
Yeah.
Um, there's also communities that just very much live like that still. Right. Just communities in which the responsibility of raising the children falls onto the entire tribe and not just on the biological parents of those children.
Yeah. Takes a
And
village.
then, yeah, exactly. Right. And then there's also communities where traditionally caring for the elders is the responsibility of the entire community,
Mhm.
right? Um, the way people build or describe their chosen family is very different from one to another, basically, right? But you'll have some more traditional that have a mother or father role. And one that comes to mind very obviously in that sense is are you familiar with the ballroom scene, the ball scene, a little bit?
I don't
The
think so.
voguing scene.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. So have you seen either Pose or Paris is Burning?
No, and I kind of want to. I know like they refer to it a lot on like Drag Race and stuff,
Yeah.
RuPaul's Drag Race. I've
Yeah.
heard a lot about it, but no, I haven't watched it.
Yeah. We should watch that Paris and Burning one time together. I think you'd be into it. Pose also was amazing show. It was really, really good.
Mhm.
But basically, it's a structure that has, they call themselves like houses, and you have the head of a house, which is typically the mother, who looks after the other members of the house,
Mhm.
right? And it's caring in a very, very traditional family way. Often they will live together. Um, they will push each other to work on that and work on this for their future and stuff like that, and really support each other, and even like mix finances at some point, like sometimes, and help each other with figuring that out, right?
Mhm.
um so, but it's not only in those sense that you have, in that scene that you have parental figures. I think even myself, I have a very close friend who quickly became a parental figure for me, who's an older
Mhm.
friend and who became, not that he has to be older to become that, but who became a just to
Yeah.
figure it out,
Well, I feel
like a
older than
fatherly
you
figure for me.
at least.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of many scenarios where your parental figure is someone younger than you, you know?
yeah, yeah. But it's yeah, it's a role that he plays a bit in my life, right?
Mhm.
Um, so, but some don't look at all like the nuclear family. Some chosen family you don't look at all like that. They might look more like close friends,
Mhm.
which I think is what people are most familiar with. Um, some are co-living situations, for example, like roommates, or a community building,
Mhm.
or co-owning like townhouses.
Mhm.
Um, some are more co-parenting situations, also, like it takes a village. Some people take that very literally, right? And
Mhm.
co-parent their children. And then some are also more romantic, like polycules, for polyamorous relationships,
Oh, I
which
haven't
you'll
heard
have.
of the term polycules.
Yeah, it's basically your network of relationships, and they
Okay.
will often, not always, but they will often live together, and act as a family. Even though not everyone is necessarily in a relationship with everyone,
Mhm.
they'll be part of the family unit, the polycule.
Okay, that's cute.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and many research indicates that the absence of the support of the family of origin, of your biological family, having a chosen family builds resilience.
Mhm.
So it's a very useful tool for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
It will, in fact, often emerge from a need that isn't being fulfilled, um, by your biological family. And that's not to say that it's always because you've been rejected or you have a terrible biological family. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's because you don't have that support and you need to um, to find it.
Mhm.
But sometimes they exist in parallel. You have that support from your biological family in some sense, but you need some additional supports in another sense.
Totally. There's some
Um,
things that you might not wanna talk to your maternal mother about, but
yeah,
another female figure in your life would, or, like, it depends, like, I know there's things I call my mom for, and there's things I'd call a different friend for, and
I think especially when there's uh, cultural differences, whether
Mhm.
they're generational differences, or just, for example, for me, I think I can't really turn to my family to help me navigate gay culture,
Mhm.
right? And it's very present in my life, and it's something that's complex and difficult to navigate and difficult to understand, right?
Mhm.
But I can't really count on the support of my family there, because they'll be even more lost than I am,
Yeah.
right? Or generationally also, well, if would your mom be the best person place to help you deal with um, the pressure you're getting on social media from all
Mhm.
these other influencers, and how that makes you feel about your body,
Mhm.
right? Maybe
Exactly.
you'll turn to a friend who's more familiar with that.
Mhm.
That wasn't directed at you, by the way. I was just trying to find
Unfollow those marathon accounts.
Right. Also, sometimes they mix your biological family and your chosen family.
Mhm.
Um, and one of a example of that just was like, oh yeah, of course, everyone has that. But I didn't think of at first was family friend. You
Mhm.
know, we all have an uncle or an aunt that's not really an uncle or not really an aunt.
Yeah,
That's part of our parents' chosen family, but that
totally.
was integrated to their biological family.
Yeah. I think in Indian cultures, especially, we call everyone uncle and auntie. And
Mm,
and I remember I never questioned it. Everyone was an uncle. Everyone older than me, that is approximately my parents' age, was an uncle or auntie. And then later in life, I started questioning, oh, are we actually related to this person, to my mom? And she's like, oh no. And
right,
then yeah, exactly. That is your chosen family, or
right.
your parents' chosen family in a way.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it's interesting how your parents' chosen family becomes part of your family, which isn't a conscious choice on your part, but it's not biological either, but feels more biological to you because it's part of their chosen family,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And yeah, like I said, it doesn't necessarily negate or take away from your biological family.
Hmm.
Uh, sometimes they just can't offer that assistance in a case that you and I live, for example, just because of distance,
Exactly.
right? Um, and I think that rings true for a lot of immigrants also, right? They have to build a community of support that they can't get from their family just because there's a great distance between them,
Hmm.
right? Or again, like, yeah, I can't relate to like specific subcultures or things like that.
Hmm.
Um, do, yeah, okay, perfect. I'll get into it in a moment. I just wanted to underline, however, that it's very predominantly very intersect with the queer culture.
Hmm.
Like it's a very strong part of queer culture and often very attached to it. It's very important to queer communities. I think partly because of that subculture that's difficult to navigate,
Yeah.
and also obviously because of the rejection that often comes with identifying as LGBTQA plus.
Hmm.
Um, so although it's not exclusive to it, I wanted to still recognize that it's a very important part of it.
Hmm.
You'll have friends taking on role of caretaker, for example, during the AIDS crisis, as we explained.
Yeah.
But friends offering support for being rejected in your family, for example, like people who are directly put on the street or offer roof over their head by friends, right? And
Hmm.
then start co-living with these parents, or sometimes teenagers who are being kicked out of the house will join uh, will be like adopted into the house of friends with their parents, and their parents will start taking care of them
Yeah.
as if they were right. That's something
Yeah.
that rings true often also.
Hmm.
Then the ball culture, as was discussed earlier, is born out of support for queer trans people of color who were being rejected by white gays. At that time, it was a community that was very, very much a safe space within the gay community from the gay community.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you'll have often for trans people, friends are very, or chosen family is really important to help you navigate the healthcare system
Hmm.
because they face a lot of trials trying to navigate that.
Yeah.
A lot of
Stigma.
misunderstanding, stigma, rejection, and it's easier to have someone who went through it to navigate you through it.
Hmm.
And also, hormone therapy is violent on your body. Someone who
Hmm.
understands it and can help you manage it as well, right?
Yeah, someone who's been through it a lot of times, I
Yeah,
feel like the
yeah,
common denominator kind of.
yeah. So that's true for trans people, but I think it's also very true for just neurodivergent people in general. I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of stigmatization around mental health,
Hmm.
and I think it's very difficult to navigate getting help, medical help for your mental health, and that's something that can be very crucial to have someone to support you and care for you and help you and guide you through it, right?
Yeah.
Almost like mentor you through it, right?
Mhm.
And then another one that's very true for trans people, um, ensuring that your death wishes are respected as well,
Mm.
right? And that's someone who's going to advocate for you and fight for you beyond death. For example, if your biological family want to bury you in the wrong clothes assigned to the wrong gender,
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that.
which is something that often happens, right?
Mhm.
Especially that trans people are subject to a lot of violence, and unfortunately, often um, are at higher risk of dying young,
Mhm.
especially if they're being rejected by their family and forced into space that aren't safe. And
Yeah.
then after all that, being buried in the wrong gender that you've been trying your whole life to separate yourself from,
Yeah.
it's just it must be so scary to live with that, right? And so to have people who like are in your corner and will advocate strongly for you, even
Exactly.
though there might not always be their legal rights for it, at least morally they can advocate for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's why it's still so very important to the queer community that that
Mhm.
that system's in place. But like I said, it's also very true for many, many other communities. We've mentioned neurodivergent communities, um, not just for navigating the healthcare system, but just navigating everyday life. It's
Mhm.
helpful to have people who understand you. And I think it's often the case that um, you'll look to surround yourself and to build those family ties with people like you. Immigrants also.
Mhm.
Um, that's kind of in the context you and I met, right? We're not immigrants. But so at first I was going to use the term expats, but I was like, let me look it up first. Do you know what expat
Mm.
stands for?
No, not really, actually. Heard that term a million times.
Yeah, it's expatriates. So it means that live and work outside of your country.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's been used often, like because Canada is such a big country, we'll use it often for living on the other coast or whatever,
Mhm.
which was where I was getting at. But then I was looking into it. I was like, wait, why
Yeah.
that term and not immigrant? And turns out expat is used only for white people, so they can
Oh.
differentiate themselves from immigrants because they're not comfortable with the term immigrant when they go live in another country because
Oh,
they're
so it's actually
better than that. So expat is not a good term.
interesting. Because I
Yeah.
know, like, when my family and I lived in Dubai, um, I did hear the term migrant workers and expats used in different ways.
So yeah,
So now it makes sense.
yeah. So expat would be like the white European communities or the American
Yeah.
communities, whereas everyone
Wow.
else would be labeled as immigrants.
That's okay.
Isn't that? I was like, God damn it! Like it never stops. We're so
Never.
twisted.
That's insane. I didn't know that. And you know what? I look forward of telling people because I feel like that term is used very loosely,
It is.
you
It is.
know?
Right.
And I think a
So
lot of the times the time that when it is used, people don't really understand the real meaning of it because then I don't think a lot of people would be using it.
no, exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
Um, so in a big country like Canada, um, although you wouldn't say that I immigrated to Vancouver, um, it still felt that way because culture is completely different, the setting
Mhm.
is completely different, um, and the language in my case was different also, right?
Mhm.
So, but and just the distance is so great also,
Mhm.
right? So when we met out there for work, we were both from the West Coast. Um,
The East
I don't know
Coast.
for you, sorry, East Coast. Yeah, we're both from the East Coast. I don't know for you because we didn't meet until later. As like we've been established in Vancouver for a while, but for me, it very much quickly built a little community with friends that felt very much more familial and more of
Mhm.
a chosen family
Mhm.
to help me navigate this new city.
Mhm. I think it was a little hard for me to even, like, have a support group out in Vancouver for a while. Um, I actually went back and forth a lot, from Toronto to Vancouver, so I actually, spent a lot of my time in Toronto, so I didn't even work on making that, support
Mm,
group, and then, my boyfriend at the time, now husband, moved, to Vancouver 3 months after I did from Toronto as well,
yeah,
so I had him,
right.
so I guess I didn't branch out that much, and there's a lot said about the West Coast culture is they're not as welcoming.
Yeah.
So because I didn't branch out and because the culture wasn't as welcoming, it took me a really long time to get group, a little community of my own. I actually even made a Bumble account. I don't know if it still exists, but there's
Bumble
Bumble BFF.
BFF?
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
Because I also felt like a girl in a relationship, because I can't, like, I'm not dating, right? I'm not dating
Yeah,
guys and, like, going
yeah.
partying with, any girls at that time because I had no girlfriends. So I
Hmm.
found it really hard. So I made Bumble BFF. I went on some dates with some girls.
Wow.
Um, and it's so funny because the only girls I did connect with were all not from there. Everyone
Oh,
else was from different places in Canada, not from
that
BC
was true for me
itself.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to say now, after 8 years of living in Vancouver, I have a great group of friends. Um,
Yeah.
and I think, like, it took me at least 2 years, to feel like, okay, I have my people here. I have some people here.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that because I think it is really important. It makes a difference into, can you stay or not, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know what? It's so funny because I just went to a friend's. She does like a little like friend Christmas party.
Hmm.
And this is my second year going, and it just felt so nice to have. And she's
Oh,
born and raised there. Or no, so sorry, she isn't, but she's been living there all, like, I want to say a good chunk of her life.
right.
And it just felt so nice to have someone open up their home to me.
Yeah.
Because that is something, like, because majority of my friends are not from there as well. It felt so nice to have someone that, like, lives here and they're like, oh, I want friends from outside of here. Um, yeah, because unfortunately, yeah, like I said before,
And there's
Vancouver's
something
closed
about
off.
like a home cooked meal that's
Mhm.
just, especially when you live away from home, that's just like so heartwarming and so healing.
100%. My
Yeah.
second year going was so nice. Unfortunately, my husband couldn't make it this year. And the next
Mm.
morning, she texted me and she's like, "Hey, we have leftovers. Bring Avril." And we both were like, "Okay, you don't have to ask us
Aw,
twice." And her parents
cute.
live 10 minutes away, so it was really easy for us to go. So we literally ate at her house 2 days in a row. But she was like, "We have so many leftovers." It was so nice.
Oh, that is really cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other ways that it's manifested in other communities, sororities and frats, and frat house,
Hmm.
like those are very much so chosen families to an extent, right?
Hmm.
Well, first of all, they call themselves brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
but they care for each other, at least from what I understood, on their career paths in the future as well.
Hmm.
Look after each other in that sense and have a sense of responsibility towards members of your sororities or
Hmm.
members of your frat.
Yeah. It wasn't really big when I went to school. I feel like it's more of an American thing, at least in Ontario.
Um, I think, yeah, it is definitely more of an American thing, but it is a thing here.
Yeah.
Justin was just telling me about a good friend of his who was in a sorority and was very, very implicated. Um, and I want to say even president, but I don't know if they have presidents or leaders or
I know they have,
head
like,
bitch. I don't
they
know.
call them. I really like this term where they call it, like, my big, like, you have, like, a mentor, so they're like your big.
Oh, big sister,
Yeah. This girl I follow on
my
Instagram,
big.
she'll be like, "Oh, spending the day with my big," and I'm like, "That's so cute, big and little."
Oh my god,
Uh,
that's so funny. But I was asking him like, oh, do you know, like, now that it's been many many years since graduation, are they still in touch? Like, are they still close? He's like, oh yeah, it was all of her bridesmaids
wow.
at her wedding last year.
That's crazy.
right? So it
Yeah.
is very much of those bonds also.
Yeah. Oh, and kinda like Girl Scout and Boy Scout as well.
Oh, interesting.
I think
Yeah.
that's also like when you start up when you're little, but I feel like
I don't know if do you think I don't know much about I don't know anyone who's been in Boy Scouts or in Girl Scouts. Do you think they stay in touch throughout their lives?
I don't know about throughout their life. I think I feel like some do. Um,
And they put on the uniform every Sunday and
oh,
their knees on their wrist side.
oh, that's so funny you brought that up. Yeah, I saw a TikTok recently, and it was this girl was like, I just walked into the washroom, and a girl was like throwing up over the toilet, and there's three other girls standing around her reciting like the Girl Scout
Oh my
anthem.
god.
You think it was in America, but I was
That's
like, oh,
wild. Sorry to interrupt.
imagine you walk in and you're like, oh, I don't know this one. Walk back out.
That's so funny. Roommates, for example, also
Mhm.
often have that bond lasting afterwards, but also while they're living together, cook meals for each other, help each other out with different challenges of life and emotional support as well. Roommates can play
Mhm.
that role. Um, I think any people who are in a very similar experience that might be unrelatable for others, like in the military, for example, it's very
Mhm.
much of a brotherhood.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
then we touch
support
on
groups.
support groups also, yeah, like AAs, for
Yeah.
example,
They're
definitely,
sponsors and stuff.
yeah. Um, and then one that you're uh, recently familiar with, wedding parties, right? How did you
Yeah.
choose those people?
Oh my god. Like yeah, like that's my family, like
That's your
my
chosen
real
family.
family and my chosen family, my
Yeah,
biological family and my chosen family for sure.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So I found this interesting article that had like advices on how to build that community for yourself. And first, the question was like, how do you know if you already have one? So they asked two questions basically. Who would you call when you get the worst news of your life?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sorry, Sanya. Who would you call when you get the worst news of your
Oh,
life?
oh, that was a question.
Yeah,
Um, like, oh my god, there's so many people. I think it
yeah.
would depend what the news is, but there's so many people that I go to. I think like you're up there. There's my
God,
biological
Jesus.
family.
I was sweating there. I was like, is she even gonna name me?
Imagine I just started listing off friends and I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
think this about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like my biological family who I'm very
Yeah.
close with, my partner, you, and then there's like two other friends,
Nice.
and yeah,
And then who do you think would call you when they get the worst news of their life?
I think those same people.
Same people. So I
Yeah.
think it would be safe to say that.
Yeah. I mean, it depends what the news is, but I feel like there's those people that it's like things happen and you're like, I can't wait to share it with them. Like
Hmm.
bad things or good things even. You're
Yeah.
like this person is like needs to know. Like you have to
Yeah.
be like updated whether it's a call or text. But yeah, there is like a handful of people.
It's funny because like now I think he's pretty used to it. But at first, like Justin, when we would get into like arguments and whatever, and like a day later or something, I was like, oh, I was talking to Sonia, I did it and whatever. It's like, did you tell her about like our argument? I'm like, yeah. And like he didn't mind, but now I think he doesn't even ask. Like he's like, oh,
Yeah.
he's going to tell Sonia.
That's so funny. Um,
Yeah.
are you the kind of person when good things happen, you reach out to people immediately or you like wait?
No, I do. Yeah. Yeah. There's a few specific people that I reach out to immediately when good things happen.
Yeah.
Um, there's a few specific people that I really want to make proud.
Yeah.
I really want them to be proud of me because I feel like
Yeah.
they invested so much in me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and then there's a lot of people who just express so much delight into good things happening to me.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So those are people I want to share the good news to with.
And when you have good things happen, are you like a texter or you call them?
Depends who,
Mhm.
you know. There's some people which I don't really have a call relationship with,
Mhm.
and there's some other people that I'm like, I'm very big into voice notes lately.
Yeah.
I used to hate them.
Yeah.
I used to
Um,
hate them, but I'm really big into them. I think ever since moving away from most of the people I know, I kind of got the purpose of it.
I'm not surprised because we have a podcast, so we know we like to hear ourselves.
Uh-huh.
But literally, I saw like a meme or whatever. It's like listening to your friend's like 45-minute voice note, like it's a podcast on your way to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and okay, so I think it's safe to say that you do have that system in place. Um, but if you didn't, or if you wanted to grow that system, like how to build a bigger family, first they recommend to put yourself in position to meet people with similar interests, value, or desires. So
Mhm.
examples that they give is like a lesbian book club, for example, or you could have like a diabetic cooking club, right?
Cute.
Or like neurodivergent walking club, also
Nice.
known as a Pokemon Go trainers club.
That's so
That
funny.
was my own little joke. I
Oh,
actually
you
wrote
did
it down.
that. Oh,
Yeah.
proud of you.
I hope it lands.
Yeah.
No shade to all Pokemon Go trainers out there. Or you can do some volunteer work,
Mhm.
right? And then once you've identified the people and joined that group, then you have to show up and keep showing up.
Mhm.
Just consistency, keep going, become a regular face there, and eventually those relationships will emerge out of that. Hopefully,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, exactly. You'll find your people.
Yeah. Um, which I thought were really good advice. Can't say that that's any of my how my close relationships happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I haven't joined many clubs
No.
after like school, but I think for me it was saying yes to social settings. I think I'm
Ah,
such a homebody that I had to force myself to put myself out there and go to these things that I got invited to. And sometimes you hate it. And you're like, I'm never doing this again. Why did I step outside my comfort zone?
mhm.
And then sometimes you meet your people, you
Yeah.
know? Um, but I think, but I want to say also that, and then 50-50. The second 50 would be work. That's where I met a lot of my people.
Yeah. You work too. I know. Me too. Actually, a lot of my close friends who work. I have um, one of my closest friends who was a neighbor, and
Nice.
we met that way. Um, yeah,
You know what?
or has been introduced to me through other friends also.
Yeah, actually, thing about a neighbor. So we've been living in our building for about 3 years now, and I only became friend with one neighbor, and this was during COVID, um, height of COVID, and this lady, a 75-year-old grandmother, moved in next door.
Oh, you told me about her. Yeah,
And
that's so cute.
she was very needy at first, but it was also COVID times. I had nothing going on in my life. Especially for homebodies, COVID was perfect. You just say no to everyone because you have symptoms. And then I worked from home at that time too, so I kind of isolated myself.
Right.
Um, and this lady would be knocking on my door every hour of the day, and sometimes I'd be like, Shirley, like I am working right now. But then
Hmm.
she was so sweet. She started cooking for me and my husband. And then we had so much fun. She would watch The Bachelor, and she'd invite me over. I never watched The Bachelor before then, but it was so fun to watch it with someone. We did watch parties. She would get
Hmm.
me so drunk.
Oh my god.
Um, and once my parents came to visit, and she had my parents over for dinner,
Oh,
and she had
cute.
recently lost her husband, and she was dating. So I helped her navigate dating at 75 years old, and she'd been married for, I think, like, almost 40 years.
Oh, that's so cute.
It was a really different but exciting relationship. I really enjoyed my time with her. I think she taught me so many things, and I taught her a lot of things. I would
Hmm.
call her out on her old people remarks some days,
Right, right,
but she
right.
took it like a champ. Like, that's not kosher to say. You can't say those things.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Does she
but
have children of her own?
she does, and she has a daughter and a son. Son does not talk to her anymore, unfortunately.
Mm,
And her daughter and her did have a lot of conflict. Um, but yeah, she kind of like adopted me, and my lost my grandparents very young, so I never really had, other than my parents, like a grandparent relationship. So I would call her my grandma.
mm.
Yeah, we had a really good relationship, and then she kind of moved in with her new man, and her new man like bought an RV and traveled all of North America.
Cute.
Yeah, we're unfortunately not in touch anymore, but it was a really cool experience. The whole, I think, 2 years we were friends.
Oh, that is really cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's that's something I wanted to touch on eventually also. It's that they they're also, as opposed to a biological family, they're evolving and ever changing kind of chosen families, right?
Mhm.
Which can be the beauty of it, but maybe sometimes can make it harder to commit to the people that you chose.
Mhm.
I think it's a like double-edged sword. Like, you don't have to put up with people's bullshit so much,
Mhm.
but also you won't be able to build those strong connection if you don't show that
Mhm.
kind of commitment, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, no, of course they evolve, either by the need kind of disappearing. Um, for example, um, you know, you move back home, right?
Yeah.
Or you had a support group while you were going through cancer and you did complete remission,
Mhm.
right? So either through that or just through people changing over time and you fall out of sync, you know.
Mhm. I know for her, like, when she started dating, it was hard for her to talk to her daughter about that, right? I think that's why they did have conflict, because her daughter was like, "How have you
Mm,
moved on from dad?" You know? But for
mm,
me as a stranger that had no attachment to her husband, her ex, or her late husband, it was easy for her to talk to me about these things, you know?
right.
So yeah, exactly. Like, she thought of me as a daughter, but I not being her daughter, not having attachment or known in her before, she could talk to me about all these different things, you
And I
know?
think it's also kind of beautiful that you guys fulfilled a specific role in each other's life for a time being, and once you got what you both needed out of that, um, you moved on, right?
Mhm, exactly.
I think that's completely fine, and that's kind of beautiful in its own.
Exactly, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I wish we could stay in touch," but it's like we didn't have much to talk about in the first place. We made things to talk about, but it was also
Hmm.
almost like friendship out of convenience,
Yeah,
just during COVID, we needed someone, we lived right next door to each other.
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm,
yeah. Yeah. So I think clearly we both understand the importance and the meaningfulness that the chosen family can have.
mhm,
And I think it's something that slowly the legal system is catching on to as well. So I found this, and I was happily surprised to find this. The Canadian Human Rights Commission um, published a paper on basically navigating caregiving and work.
mhm,
And at first, this is how they define family. Okay, family is a broad and inclusive term. It includes family members who do not live in the same household and relationship from bond of blood or law, including common law. It includes relationship between parents and children, including adoptive and foster children, and with spouses, marital or common law. siblings, in-law, uncles, aunts, nephew, nieces, cousins, grandparents, and grandchildren. Family can also include relationship not defined by blood or legal bonds. This may include chosen families, such as strong friendships and communities where unrelated persons provide care normally provided by nuclear family members. These relationships may be particularly important for Aboriginal people or people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, and or transgender. So that's how Canadian Human Rights Commission define it.
Oh,
And
wow.
then later in the document, they go, employees have a duty to accommodate when an employee's need are based on any of the grounds discriminating the Canadian human rights law. In the case of caregiving, a duty to accommodate may arise when an employee's obligation to care for a family member, based on the previous definition, combined with the employer's existing rule or policy, make the employee unable to participate fully at work. So,
Mm.
in theory, you should be able to take a leave to offer care to a member of your chosen family,
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
right? And I think your employer can dispute it, but they have to prove that basically it would be a huge loss for the company if they offered you that leave.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, in the U.S., some cities like LA, New York, and Chicago also have laws that people are able to take some time away from work to provide care for loved ones, regardless of the blood or legal relationship. So they have the same place, but only in those few cities.
Hmm.
It's not as prevalent in the U.S. There's still a lot of work to be done, obviously. Um, I don't know if you knew this, but in Canada, legal protections are limited for common law relationship. It's not the same as married, which is, in my mind, I had the idea of like, oh, common law and married is the same legally.
Oh, yeah, no, I knew that. Yeah.
It's very different. It's uh, depending on the province, it's very different.
I only knew that because it's different paperwork. That's why I assumed.
Oh,
Because then
okay,
when you,
okay.
you do common law, you have to get an affidavit signed. Or sorry, you don't have to, but like our company required one. And then when you get married, you get a marriage license.
Right. So in Ontario, common law status entitles partners to spousal support, but not property rights.
Okay.
Quebec has the highest rate of common law unions in Canada at 40%, but the province does not grant the same rights at all. So you don't have spousal support and property rights in Quebec, among other things that you would have if you were married.
Okay.
However, BC is offering the same rights to common law as married partners.
Interesting. Good to know because I
And
didn't
it's
know
after
that.
only 2 years of living together.
Yeah.
And I think it can also be declared even without living together. I think it's 2 years of relationship. You don't necessarily have to live together.
Interesting. So when we common law in BC, we had to yes, if we've been living at the same residence, and he verified our driver's license to make sure that we had the same address.
Right. I would have to look into it more, but I do
Honestly, and it's
remember.
different province by province too, right?
No, but in BC, I believe that there was a way to
Oh,
prove a relationship is legitimate without living together,
interesting.
which I find like, yeah, I know some married people who don't live together,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know?
Yeah,
Right.
but I think when you get married, you don't have to prove that you live together. From when I
Right,
got married,
exactly.
yeah, exactly. They didn't even check. They checked. They made. You don't have to prove, but the questions are all like, "Are you guys related?"
Yeah. That's
Which is
so weird.
crazy.
Yeah. So, um, to finish this off, I wanted to share some of my personal experiences with chosen
Yeah.
families because, like I said, I mean this as a homage to the people who are important in my life.
Aw.
Um, I think I'm lucky. I have a lot of friends who I considered very close family.
Mhm.
Um, However, they don't all know each other, so it's not a family unit per se,
Yeah.
right? Um, there are relationships that withstand the test of time and distance, and for how much I moved around, that kind of was like important, right, for me.
Wait, sorry
But
to interrupt you while you're
mhm,
about to go in your tribute. But so chosen family doesn't mean that like this person is part of now you like they don't all have to know each other, right? Like we can have people that we
No.
consider our chosen family, but
Well, the term has a very loose definition in
yeah,
itself,
okay. Yeah.
right?
When you
So
said that,
not
I was like,
necessarily.
when you brought up that they don't know each other, I was like, wait, I don't think any of my chosen family really knows each other or considers each other family by any means.
No,
Mhm.
but I think, you know, it's more um, when, for example, they do research and stuff like that. They really look at units of
Mm,
family
true.
members that
Yeah,
know each other,
true.
and I think a lot of what I've been going through is based mostly on that.
Mhm.
Not solely, and I don't think one is more legitimate than the other.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think it's a lot easier to have access to a lot more support when you have that unit,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I also think it's important to maybe make those people aware that you view them that way and to make sure that they agree also,
Mhm. If
right?
my friends are listening, I get a text today saying, "Hey, chosen family." I'm joking.
You can all pick a new family name. But yeah, I do have people who have been in unmeasurable amount of support, uh,
Mhm.
navigating and understanding the gay culture for sure. And
Mhm.
I won't be naming anyone because I don't think that's necessary, but you know who you are. um, for me, navigating mental health is some support that I had to go get outside of my family as well.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Simply adjusting to adulthood, I rely on the support of my friends a lot on that.
Yeah.
And even, learning how to groom and to shave and some other weird hygiene basis that you wouldn't suspect, but I relied a lot on some friends for that.
Yeah.
You know, there's a friend that I call whenever I'm sick or injured or have a weird rash. That is kind of will help me navigate that.
That's so
Um,
funny.
um, I have friends who hosted me for 2 months during the pandemic in my hometown where my mom lives, but because it was better for my mental health to go live with them than to go live with my mom in the suburbs.
Mhm.
That were more than happy to do that for me.
Aw, that's
Right.
so sweet.
Um, I said, like I said earlier, I have a friend who's very much of a parental figure and who took me under his wing and showed me a lot of love and patience and respects that I never got from my father.
Mhm.
And that, more than that, and I think that was one of the most healing things that expressed so much delight into the person that I am and the person that I'm becoming.
Mhm.
Someone who's
Aw.
watching me grow.
Yeah.
Um, and also like just offered a safe place and shelter at time for me.
Mhm.
Um, Even during the pandemic, during lockdown, um, we you were either not allowed to see anyone, or if you were single and lived alone, you were allowed to pick one person to see, right?
Mhm.
So I had a neighbor who was a friend who was that one person, and we would do meals together every night, really support each other through it, and
Yeah.
have all those talks and those long walks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, and then to some extent, even Ish, who did our branding,
Mhm.
who him I'm going to name because I want you all to go to his Instagram page at h.e.e.s.h. He's an amazing
Mhm.
artist,
Amazing artist. Check his Instagram out.
but who, you know, I think we framed it as return of a favor, because I did him a favor in the past, and we were all more comfortable framing it like that because he did an unmeasurable amount of work into it.
Mhm.
But really, he was doing it because he wanted to support me and by extension you into our new endeavors, and because he's super excited and supportive friend,
Yeah, so supportive of us. Like, I love it. He's like, I feel like our biggest fan beside our own partners.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then there's you, who, you know,
Stop.
I call anytime, every time, and who, now more than ever, we talk all the time, either for the podcast, but then, you know, I think there was a short moment where I was like, are we going to get bored of talking to each other? And then in between episode, we call each other 5 times and talk on the phone for like 2 or 3 hours,
Oh, I just texted Tama the other day. We were on the phone for 2 hours that morning. Then I listened to both our episodes, and then I still was like, "Oh, I'm gonna call him." I was like, "No, I'll just text him." And I was like, "How am I not sick of this person yet?"
Right. Um, but also all of that support that I received, that I receive currently and that I received in the past, have helped me become someone who can love and support in return.
Mhm,
And I think you and I had a talk recently about the concept of legacy and what you're leaving behind.
mhm,
And as someone who doesn't want children, um, I had those thoughts, right? But I still feel like now I'm able to give and to to leave behind through my acts of giving, right? And
mhm,
there's friends that I took under my wing now as like a younger sibling,
mhm,
um, and now I have a little baby that she's naming me Uncle Tom to, right?
mhm, yeah,
Um, or for stuff as simple as, friends going on vacation, I'll look after their house, I'll look after their pets and stuff like that. Stuff that, you know, um, one thing that's also always very important for me wherever I live is that I have space to host my friends who are out of town.
mhm,
Um, and it's primordial that I'm able to do that because I have so much family that's out of town now, like chosen family that's out of town because I've moved around so much,
yeah,
which was weird because it makes it really hard to choose where to live because
mhm,
I'm never fully home. There's always a part of me that's somewhere else, right?
yeah. But that's what I love about
And
it because
then,
you have a home in so many different places.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's a very hard life, but it's actually good, I guess.
Like, "Oh, I don't know where to live because I have too many friends all over the world."
I know. But I try to take seriously that sense of responsibility towards those people and to make myself available for them, right?
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, relationships can evolve and change, and there's some people that you know I lost along the way, and some people that I gain lost. I didn't lose, like it didn't die or
you
anything, but
lose
like
connections with,
connections with. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But I think part of my resolutions for this year are very tied with that. I want to be much more intentional in my interaction with my chosen family, and I think I
Mhm,
want to be much more outspoken about my care and love to them, and
mhm,
and 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 how I view them and how I value them in that sense, and really I'm more committed to those people also.
mhm. I
Right.
totally agree. I feel like as I get older, I'm realizing, like, how valuable, like, time with people you love and care about is, and how, like, like, it's so easy to be like to a friend like, "Oh, let's go grab a drink," But I'm like, "No, let's go like talk. Let's get deep." You know?
Yeah,
And I really like those
yeah,
interactions with friends. I think the more and more like there used to just be like a handful of people I would call, but I think more and more like I call so many people all the time now. There's so many phone catch ups I need to do all the time and I love it.
yeah.
Um, you know, um obviously there are some friends that I don't call all the time and we're more texters or we're more like I have those friends that I don't talk to for years sometimes. And then you
Hmm.
see them and you just pick up where you left off.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Same,
Mhm. And those friendships
completely.
I'm also so grateful for.
I also have friends who I don't have any meaningful interactions with them, um, other than like once every 2 months when we catch each other.
Mhm.
But that on the daily, we're still in communication through memes and through stupid jokes,
Exactly. Yeah. Commenting on each other's photos, like, you go,
Yeah,
girl. And then it's
exactly.
like, I haven't seen this person in 7 years, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I had for you today.
Okay. You know what I kept thinking of? I don't know if you
Tell
did
me.
this, but when I was in high school, I think yeah, or middle school even, when Facebook first came out,
Mhm.
did you like make all of your friends at the time your siblings?
No, that's weird.
That's so funny because we did that.
You did
Literally,
that?
like, I
Really?
have, like I think after, like, as the years went on, I, like, took a lot of them off, but there's still a couple of my friends that are still my sister relation on my
You
Facebook that are really like sisters to me in real life.
you know what? I think my first reflex was like, that's weird because I think it would have been weird if I had done that because I definitely did not have those kind of friendships in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny. I have
But
my 2 besties from high school still, and I'm pretty sure we have some sort of relationship on Facebook.
that's really cute. And I think that's exactly what this is, right?
Mhm.
That's the people you chose to help you navigate high school and all these things, and it was chosen family.
Mhm.
And if it's the two people I'm thinking of, they were at your wedding and I met them and they're still
Exactly,
very
yeah.
much part of your life.
Yeah, they know who they are. Hashtag
They knew who
trio.
they are. Oh my god. Were you guys the cool kids or were you guys like the losers?
Like, I feel like I would like to it's so funny because we all were so different too. But
Mm.
no, we were definitely I think we were like the losers, but we hung out with the cool kids sometimes. We're own
Oh yeah.
on our own.
Tolerated. You guys were tolerated.
Exactly. Yeah. And we were like, we felt like, it's so funny because, like, I don't even think we hung out the last couple of years of high school. Um, in school.
Mm.
We would just hung out outside of school. Because we
Oh yeah.
had our own cliques and school. It's so weird to think about.
Um,
But they were the OGs.
oh yeah. I was a theater kid.
Of course you were. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it didn't pan out for me. It didn't work out like that for me. But um, which I think theater kids live on the line between cool kids and losers. Like, no? Okay, well,
Uh,
moving on.
I think I think
We were
we
cool.
all know where theater kids are.
All right. Well, Sanya, again, Happy New Year's, and I'm very happy to still, have so
Talk to
much.
you this
Yeah,
year.
I don't know where I'm going with this. You know what? I'm happy to have started this endeavor with you and to see that grow in the new year.
Yeah, I feel like you started this episode off by saying this is something different, and then you're like, wait, we've only done like 6
Yeah.
episodes. But you know what? I like how we started the new year on such a wholesome note. Kind of like a personal shout out to all our family, chosen family, to
Yeah.
support us, and make us who we are today.
Yeah. Exactly. Great.
Oh, this is so heartfelt. And if you're watching the video, you can probably see Soma was cheering up
Oh my god!
for us to be part of this.
I can't. I just can't talk about people I care for without tearing up.
Yeah. So cute. We love it. Well, we hope you all have an amazing year to come.
Yeah, and take care
Um,
of yours and yourself.
yeah. Thank you for listening.
Bye. See you next week.
Tell Me Like I'm Stupid is created and produced by us, Saniya and Thomas. You can follow us on Instagram at Tell Me Like I'm Stupid.
If you'd like to support us, please subscribe and review on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Our cover art was created by Ish. Find him on Instagram at h.e.e.s.h.
Thank you for listening.